All right, welcome. This is week 6 homework solutions. I'm going over the solutions for Thursday, September 12th. All the problems ask you to solve the equation, then check your solution. For the sake of the solutions, I will only be showing um, the solving steps. I'm not going to go back in and plug it in to check the solutions, okay? All right, number 1, 15 minus 2x equals to 3x. So first step is always to rewrite down the equation. Now you draw a line straight down, separating the left from the right. Notice that they are the variable on the left hand side and the variable on the right hand side. Both is the x value. Okay, we have to get one variable. So, like I said in class, always move the smallest one. What is the smallest one here? A negative 2x or a 3x? What is the smallest one? It would be the negative 2x. Okay, so that's the one you're going to move. What is the opposite or the inverse of subtract 2x? It would be add 2x. Why do you add 2x? Because watch, it should cancel out. That is the reason why you add 2x. When you do the inverse or the opposite, things cancel out. Okay? In this case, negative 2x plus 2x becomes 0. That's how things cancel out. What do I have left over on the left hand side of 15? What about the right hand side? 2x plus 3x is 5x. Now it looks like a Monday's problem, a one step. 15 equal 5x. Right now, what is attached to the x is 5 times x. So what is the inverse or the opposite of multiply by 5? It is divide by 5. So I'm going to divide by 5 to both sides. Why do I divide 5 to both sides? Look at the right hand side. 5 over 5 becomes 1. They cancel. The 5 over 5 here cancels out. What do you have left over on the right hand side? X. On the left hand side, 15 divided by 5 is 3. Notice everything comes straight down. The variable, right, came straight down. Okay? Number 2, 25 plus 4x equals to 9x. Again, rewrite the equation and draw a line straight down. We notice that there are a variable on the left side and the right hand side. We want to get it to one side. How do we do that? We move the smallest one. So what is smaller, 4x or 9x? It would be 4x. So what is the opposite or the inverse of plus 4x? It would be minus 4x. Minus 4x minus 4x. What, right? Now, when we do the opposite or the inverse, things cancel out. 4x minus 4x cancels out. That became 0 on the left-hand side. So what do I get left over on the left-hand side? A 25. The right-hand side, 9x minus 4x just becomes 5x. Now you have 25 equals to 5x once you simplify. Right now, what is attached to the x? It is the multiply by 5. What is the inverse or the opposite of multiply by 5? It is to divide by 5. Once you divide by 5, look how it's going to cancel out because 5 divided by 5 becomes 1. So what do you have left over on the right hand side? Just an x. The left hand side is going to be a 5. There you go. That's it. Okay, that is 1 and 2. Okay, number 3. You have 5x minus 9 equals to 2x plus 12. First, we write down the equation and draw a line straight down. Notice that there are variables on the left-hand side and the right-hand side. We have to do something to get the variable on one side. We always ask that question, which is the smallest one? Because we only want to move the smallest one. So what is smaller, 5x or 2x? 2x is the smallest one. We move it over, okay, by doing the opposite or the inverse. Right now, you have a 2x. What is the inverse or the opposite of 2x? Minus 2x, okay? Because 2x minus 2x cancels out. Good. The left-hand side, right, if we minus 2x, you see how this cancels out? On the left-hand side, 5x minus 2x becomes 3x. That negative 9 comes straight down. On the right hand side, what is left over is that 12. That came straight down. Okay? Everything just came straight down. It doesn't disappear. The only thing that disappears is that cancellation, which is the red hash right here. Alright? Next, you have 3x minus 9 equals to 12. This should remind you on Tuesday's problem, the two steps. Okay, what do you do first? Okay, here you would add 9 to both sides because you're trying to get rid of the outwardmost thing, which is the negative 9. The inverse or the opposite of minus 9 is add 9. So these, the left-hand side should cancel out. Negative 9 plus 9 cancels out. What do you have left over on the left-hand side? Just a 3x. On the right-hand side, 12 plus 9 becomes 21. What is attached to the x after you're simplified? It is still a multiply by 3. So in this case, you're going to divide by 3 because that is the inverse of multiply by 3. Watch, when you divide by negative 3, the 3 over 3 becomes 1. So that disappears. Okay, what do you have left over on the left-hand side? An x. What do you have on the right-hand side? 21 divided by 3 becomes 7. Okay, notice the last two steps were just your two-step equation that you did on Tuesday. The new part here is just the getting one variable. That is the new part. Okay, it's not new. It's just a repeat of what you've been doing with an additional step. That's why it's called multiple steps. Number 4. Negative 8x plus 15 equals to 35 plus 2x. What is the first thing that you do? The first thing is to rewrite the equation and draw a line straight down. Now, you notice that there are two variables, one on the left, one's on the right. On the left-hand side, it's negative 8x. On the right-hand side, it's 2x. We want one variable. We move the smallest one. What is smaller, negative 8x or 2x? Seems like the negative 8x is the smallest one. So we move it to the other side by doing the inverse or the opposite. What is the opposite or the inverse of negative 8x? It would be positive 8x or add 8x. Okay? Because when we add 8x here, they cancel out. That's how you know you're doing it properly. Something cancels out. What do you have left over on the left-hand side? Just a 15. On the right-hand side, the 35 comes straight down. The 2x plus the 8x becomes 10x. This should look like Tuesday's problem now. You deal with the most outward thing here. The most outward thing here is the 35. So you're going to subtract 35 to both sides. Bring it down. Look at the cancellation. The 35, subtract 35, that cancels out. 15 minus 35, what does that get you? A negative 20. If this doesn't make sense to you, just grab a calculator. 15 minus 35 should be negative 20. Just grab a calculator. Your right-hand side, 10x, 10x. So, what do you do here that you have multiplied by 10? You do the opposite or the inverse, okay? Which is divide by 10, divide by 10. Once you divide this by 10, okay, this should cancel out. 10 over 10 becomes 1, cancels out. What do you have left over on the right-hand side? Just an x. On the left-hand side, negative 20 divided by 10 is negative 2. Number 1, 2, 3, and 4 that we just covered is as hard as it's going to get. It's going to be a little bit harder. So 5 and 6 is what they typically, that you see as one of the hardest problems, okay? But you should be able to do 1, 2, 3, and 4 comfortably. All right, 5, a little bit more difficult, okay? We have 7 plus 3x minus 12x equals to 3x plus 1. Do not say you don't know how to do it. Just follow the steps. The first step is always to rewrite the equation. Once we rewrite the equation, draw a line straight down. Then follow the procedure. First thing, we want to make the variable by itself. We have a 3x and a minus 12x on the left hand side, and you have a 3x on the right hand side. What I did is I combined the like terms on the left-hand side. I want to make that one variable. Okay? So in this case, 3x minus 12x became 9x. So all I did was I combined the like terms on the left-hand side. Everything else comes straight down. The right-hand side remains 3x plus 1. That 7 came down on the left-hand side as well. Now I have 7 minus 9x equals to 3x plus 1. I see a variable on both sides, so I want to move the smallest one. What is smaller, negative 9x or 3x? Then negative 9x is the smallest one. So we do the opposite. What is the opposite of negative 3x? Or what is the opposite of minus 9x? It would be add 9x. 9x to both sides. Why or how do we know it's correct? Because this cancels out. You see, that cancels out. What do we have left over on the left-hand side? A 7. On the right-hand side, 9x plus 3x becomes 12x. That 1 comes straight down. Notice, each time I do the inverse, something gets canceled. Okay, everything I do an inverse step or the opposite step, something gets canceled. Okay, what we have here is 7 equals to 12x plus 1. This should be like a Tuesday's problem. You do the most outward thing here. So that plus 1, we have to deal with a plus 1. What is the opposite or inverse of plus 1? It should be subtract 1. Subtract the 1 to both sides. What do you get on the left-hand side and the right-hand side? The 1 plus 1 and the minus 1 cancels. The left-hand side, 7 minus 1 becomes 6. 6 is equal, bring down the 12x. Now it goes back to a Monday's problem, a single step. Right now you have 12 times x. So what is the opposite of 12 times x? It is to divide by 12, right? So divide by 12, divide by 12. The 12 here cancels out, 12 over 12, 12 over 12, right? Cancels out, it becomes 1. So you get an x on the right-hand side. 6 divided by 12 becomes 1/2. Use a calculator. If you put this in your calculator, your answer is probably like 0.5 as a fraction. 0.5 actually becomes 1/2. 6. X minus 2 plus 2x equals to 6 plus 5x. Again, first step is to always rewrite your equation, then draw a line straight down. I've noticed that there are 2 x's here on the left-hand side. So what am I going to do? I'm going to combine the like terms. The x here and the 2x needs to combine. X plus 2x becomes 3x. So on the left-hand side, the x plus the 2x becomes 3x. Everything else comes straight down. So the negative 2 comes straight down, the 6 comes straight down, and the 5x comes straight down. Next, what do? I want to get the variable on one side. I have a 3x on the left, I have a 5x on the right. I have to get rid of the smallest one. What is smaller, 3x or 5x? It would be 3x. How do I get rid of a 3x? I subtract 3x, right? I subtract 3x, that should cancel. Oops, sorry. This should cancel, okay? I put the hash at the wrong spot. This should cancel, okay? So what happens? The negative 2 comes straight down. The 6 comes straight down. 5x minus 3x becomes 2x, okay? Next, you have the variable on one side. Now you deal with the most outward thing, which is the 6. So I'm going to subtract 6 to both sides because I'm trying to get this to cancel. So that now cancels. My right-hand side just becomes 2x. My left-hand side becomes negative 8. Is x alone? Do you see how step from the top to the bottom, it's like someone said it's a reverse triangle. It just gets smaller and smaller. That's how you know you're doing it correctly. Okay? 2x. So you divide by 2 to both sides. Why do you divide by 2? Because it is the opposite of multiply by 2. Okay? That is how you get this to cancel out. This cancels out. Just gets you x. Left-hand side, negative 8 divided by 2 becomes negative 4. The right-hand side becomes x. The left-hand side is just negative 4. Okay? A lot of steps, right? And please understand I made an error here. This should be where the hash should be canceling out, right? A lot of steps, right? But again, this is as hard as it's going to get. right? Number 6. Number 7 and 8 are just bonus questions that are given at a high school level that you might see if you ever do like advanced mathematics. Okay, so you could attempt it, but you're never going to see something like 7 or 8 on the in 8th grade. Okay, I just want to make sure you have seen it and have attempted it, because again, it's the same steps, it's the same idea. Okay, nothing's new, there's no new math. Okay, so the first thing, you have the equation, so you rewrite the equation, you draw a line straight down, you see a parentheses, so deal with the parentheses, so you have to distribute. The -9 is going to be distributed to the x. That's what happens here. The -9 is going to be distributed to the -2. That's what's happened here. 4 is going to be multiplied to x. That's what's happened here. And 4 times 15 is going to happen here. Simplify everything. -9 times x is -9x. -9 times -2 becomes +18. Do not know how to do it? Grab a calculator. -9 times -2 on the calculator should get you 18. Do not get it wrong. 4 times x just becomes 4x. 4 times -15. 4 times -15 is -60. Okay? Just plug in a calculator. You see, this is like the previous problem when you see a variable on both sides. You want to get rid of the smallest one. What is smaller, -9x or 4x? It would be -9x. So we have to do the opposite. What is the opposite of -9x? It is add 9x. Notice, do you see how this cancels? Okay? That's the reason why you add 9x. This needs to cancel. Why should you cancel this one out and not the one on the right? Because you want to cancel out the small one. This cancels out. What do you have left over? What do you have left over? This cancels out. What do you physically see left over? An 18. My right hand side, 4x plus 9x becomes 13x. The subtract 60 comes straight down. Good? Next, this looks like a Tuesday's problem. Deal with the most outward thing. That -60 is bothering that x. So you're going to do the opposite by add 60. This should cancel out here. Okay? This cancels out. That's the reason why you do the opposite. So 13x is left alone on the right-hand side. 18 plus 60 is 78. Don't know how to add? Grab a calculator. This looks like Monday's problem. Okay, it's 13 times x. So what is the inverse of multiply? Divide. So divide by 13. Divide by 13. Okay? If I divide this by 13, what do I get? A 1, which is left over on my right-hand side. 78 divided by 13 becomes 6 on the left-hand side. There you go. Okay? That's how you do 7. Good? Nothing, you've done this. You've done the add 9, right? The combined like terms, right? The make it one variable. You've done this and this. This is your 2 steps. That's your multiple steps. This just becomes a harder one because you have to distribute it first. Okay? Not new, just a lot to organize. And the reason why it's complicated, because at a very young age, especially in middle school, it's very hard to keep track of very abstract objects. Okay, the reason why some of your classmates might get this faster than you is because to them their brain is more developed to handle abstract ideas. Okay, we just need practice. Okay, 8 in 10 parentheses 2x plus 2, close the parentheses, minus x equals to 2 parentheses 8x minus 8, close the parentheses. First thing is always to rewrite the equation, then draw the line straight down to separate the left and the right. We see some parentheses, so we're going to distribute to cancel them out. 10 times 2x is the first one. 10 times 2, that's the second one. Bring down the minus x, nothing happened to it. 2 times 8x, 2 times 8x, and 2 times 8 right there. Okay, what is 10 times 2x? 10 times 2x is 20x. 10 times 2 is 20. Bring down the negative x. 2 times 8x becomes 16x. 2 times negative 8 becomes negative 16. Okay, this should look like the previous problem. I see a 20x and a minus x on the left hand side. I should combine the like terms. 20x minus x becomes 19x. Nothing happened to the 20. Nothing on the left-hand side. Nothing happened to the 20. It just came straight down. Anything that happened was just combining the like terms, which was in red. The 20x minus the x became 19x. My right hand side, nothing is red. Nothing happened to this. Just come straight down. This should become 16x. This just becomes negative 16x. Nothing else happened. Okay? You see variables on both sides. You have a 19x on the left and a 16x on the right. Move the smallest one. 16x is the smallest. So in this case, it's add 16x. So how do you get rid of it? Add 16x. You subtract 16x. That makes sense, right? 16x minus 16x cancels out. That is the reason why you do your opposites. Hopefully you understand that by now. Do that to the other side. What do you have left over? 19x minus 16x becomes 3x. Bring down the 20, bring down the minus 16. Be very careful. You just got to keep track of all the steps. Here, you want to get rid of the most outward thing. Again, this is Tuesday's lesson. This should really come quick to you, right? Very mechanical. Subtract 20 to both sides because that is the outwardmost thing. This cancels out. What do you get left over on the left-hand side? Just the 3x. Negative 16 minus 20 becomes negative 36. This doesn't make sense to you? Grab a calculator. I know it's negative 36. Just put this in the calculator. Do it right now. Negative 16 minus 20. Plug in your calculator. You see? It says negative 36. You have 3 times x. Okay? You're multiplying by 3 here. So what are you going to do? Divide by 3. Divide by 3. Divide 3 to both sides. This cancels out. Do you see how it cancels out? That's the reason why you do it. What do you have left over on the left-hand side? Just an x. On the right-hand side, negative 36 divided by 3 becomes negative 12. Voila. Solved for. Okay? This is harder because last one we just distributed. Okay, but here you distribute combine like terms, multiple subtractions, right, and a division. A lot of steps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Very complicated, right? Not really, because again, you're doing the same things as before. On Wednesday, you practice distributing. You combine like terms on Thursday. You subtract it and you divide on Monday and Tuesday. It just comes from repetition. Okay, you just have to do 100 of these problems just to get good at it. Okay, I was never good at this until junior year in high school. Okay, so you have to just go through a bunch of repetitions. Okay, all right, there you go. Those are all the answers. Okay, if you need any help, just let me know. Look over the steps. There should be no errors. If you have any questions, please let me know. But those are your solutions.